Voltron Network.
We're recording. What's good, guys? Welcome back to Let's Talk. This week, Rush Hour 1, 2, and 3. I'm Eddie Reese Antonio.
And I'm Mo.
What's good, Mo?
Wow.
I'm mad at you.
Why are you mad at me?
I know I gave you your choice to do it, but Rush Hour, I had to really motivate myself to watch these movies.
You know what? My feelings might not be that far off.
They're not good, man. Like, they're not terrible. That's not right. They're not like complete garbage, but they're TV level quality. It's like an enjoyable TV show. If they cut these up into like 40-minute chunks, it will be an TV show.
You are kind of right. They are not as good as I remember.
You actually remember them being good? Is that why you chose it?
So I think the difference now because I've just been on this whole, I've been watching all of Jackie's classic 80s and early 90s stuff. Now I have like a frame of reference to like put it up against. Before it was like, this is a good, funny buddy cop movie.
With good action, as you thought.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's start anyway. Let's get into it. Not completely disastrous, but yes, we're going to be talking the Rush Hour movies featuring Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker from 98 up until 2007. And did you check out the TV show?
So I did not do that. I did not bring myself to do it.
Oh, that would have been interesting. I would have been interested to hear that. So let's just jump. Well, you want to give your overall thoughts on how you feel about them, or you feel what you've just said was...
Well, should we go into the film, and then at the end we can do a little bit of like some of the trivia, and then maybe do a bit of like, how does this compare to like Jackie's other output?
Not at all. Sneak peek. So we're going to Rush Hour 1, 1998, budget of $33 million, and it brought back worldwide 244 million, nearly 245 million worldwide.
Apparently, opening weekend. So apparently Jackie went back to Hong Kong thinking that was the last American movie he was ever going to make. And then he was basically planning to go and start doing a movie in Hong Kong. Opening weekend, he gets a call from Chris Tucker. And there's some great stuff on this documentary I watched about him talking about Chris Tucker. Ooh. He does all these like impressions that are so bad, but he literally goes, Chris Tucker just talks like, like I can't understand a word he's saying. He goes, they made 78 million on the opening weekend. And he realized that this movie was going to be an absolutely smash hit.
This is part of why we were plagued with Brett Ratner for so long in the early 2000s. Because he was the director of this, and the second, and the third one. No stories of him being a bastard, though, this time around, which he usually is. He's one of the Me Too guys.
So from all the behind the scenes stuff that I watched, and by the way, Rush Hour is available on a 3-set Blu-ray.
Oh, that's a cool cover, man.
That is a very nice cover. Lots of extras, and if you buy like the trilogy, there's like a 5th disc where they do like a look back at Rush Hour, and Ratner, for all the things that you sort of dislike about him, he was really passionate about these films. Like, you can really see that he really wanted to work with Jackie Chan.
Yeah, apparently he was a big Jackie fan.
Oh, he was a big Jackie fan. But do you know how Chris Tucker came to be in this film, and how Chris Tucker and Brett Ratner know each other?
No, I heard all the other people who were nearly in this.
Yeah,
definitely him. But how did he end up getting into it?
So basically, Brett Ratner started off his career doing music videos, and he managed to talk Chris Tucker, who was an up-and-coming comedian, into being in a Heavy D music video. And Chris Tucker was like, "How much does this pay?" And Ratner was like, $500. He goes, "No, I want 1,000." He goes, "I've only got 500." So Tucker's like, "Right, can I keep my wardrobe?" So he agrees to do that. They do this video. This video absolutely blows up. So what Ratner does is, at some point, sends Tucker another $500, right? So a couple of years later, Tucker's doing a movie, Money Talks. Apparently, with Charlie Sheen, production comes to a grinding halt. The studio fires the director. They pull Tucker into the office going like, every week this movie's not being filmed. It's costing us $1 million. What are we going to do? And he goes, I know a white boy director that I think we can bring in for this. And bam, Ratner goes from music videos to movies.
Oh, so Tucker's to blame then? Truly. Oh, X-Men Third Class. No, X-Men Last Stand. Tucker. Chris Tucker's fault.
Yep. Could have also been an Ocean's 11. Apparently, before Rush Hour 2, he'd been sent the script for Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
And he only turned it down because Rush Hour 2 was then going to go to somebody else. And he goes, "No, I started this thing. This is my thing."
Damn. Close call. I would have liked to see Rush Hour in somebody else's hands. It would have been interesting if they did kind of mix up the directors for each one.
Do you not feel, though, that Ratner, more than any other American director that had worked with Jackie, and then some very interesting things that Jackie also said about why he accepted the job, understood more about what Jackie fans want from Jackie in an American film?
You could tell that, one, he was a fan, and that he allowed Jackie to choreograph the action himself, and he parts, even more with the second one in terms of how it was shot as well. The second one was shot very much like how Jackie likes things to be shot. You could see everything. They were pretty well framed. Wasn't high cuts, long takes. Yeah. But by the second one, he would have had that power anyway. So whoever would have come in, it would have been in the contract that Jackie would have been able to do all that.
Yeah. If you look through like the history of him working with American directors, they've never really understood him.
First time, but in the sequel, he got the power. The first two was success. You know how it works. He could have called his shots. But yeah, you know what? Martin Lawrence is nearly in this as a first.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, and then after him, it was nearly Eddie Murphy.
Oh,
it would have been.
So Ratner, in this, like, looking back at Rush Hour, does mention the fact that this movie's heavily influenced by Eddie Murphy, because he goes, he was a real fan of things like 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop, and if you actually sit back and think about it, a lot of that actually does like resonate in these films.
Yeah, all of the quick-witted, especially the Beverly Hills Cop, all the little snarky comments. Do you feel like Tucker overpowered this movie? I think more so in the second one for me, but you think he kind of overpowered with his constant yep.
There is a little bit when people say I can't stand Chris Tucker because he just talks too much, I can understand where they're coming from, but I won't say I disliked him because he never really crossed that line to be annoying. But watching these films in like the year 2020, it's like, my God, there are some very racist things being said.
Back and forth stuff they were coming up. It was like, no, that is not right.
Yeah, it's just like, would you put some of those lines in a movie that essentially is aimed at like a family audience in a film today? You wouldn't.
I know. And apparently Jackie hated Chris Tucker when they first met for a good portion of the shooting. Right. And Tucker even said that changed when Jackie sat him down and said, I don't like you because you're always late. You're never on time on the set, because he was always just hanging out in his trailer. Yeah. Once he heard that, and he felt kind of hurt by that, because he kind of looked up to Jackie to a level, to a certain degree. Kung Fu movies, everyone loves them. Once he started being on time and actually understood that he can't be that sort of arrogant movie star, which he wasn't really. He done been, Friday before this?
Yes, I think there was Friday, and then there was like the Money Talks movie, and then this became the next one. And it's really difficult to believe that like Rush Hour must have made so much money, because by the time they got to number 3, he got like an $18 million payday for number 3.
Yeah, between number 1 and 3, he didn't do anything else. He made no other movies. He just
he disappeared for a long time after number 3 as well.
That money. But once he had a talking to and he started turning up the set, that's when they actually became legit buddies.
Yeah. So there is a story that Jackie tells when he first met Chris Tucker. So after he'd agreed to do the film, Ratner put them in a room together, and Tucker walks into the room saying, Jackie, I'm such a big fan of yours, and they're talking away. And after about half an hour or something, Tucker's like to Ratner, can I just talk to you privately outside for a minute? So he takes Ratner outside and he goes, how the hell am I going to make a movie with this guy? I cannot understand a word he is saying. So Ratner calms him down. Later on that evening, Ratner has a chat with Jackie, and Jackie goes, Brett, how am I going to make a movie with this guy? This guy just talk. I can't understand a word he's saying. So we're in the movie when they go, do you understand what's coming out of my mouth?
Yeah, legit. I like that. But so how did you find the story of the first one?
So the story is not like it's not going to be like a thing you remember, right? It's not a well-crafted. tale or anything, right? In fact, the title Rush Hour doesn't even make any sense because you're like, what is Rush Hour?
This
Apart
reminds
from
me of Red Heat. Is it Red Heat?
So Red Heat was the one that reminded me of this, right? It was like that buddy cop thing where you have like two guys from the opposite end from two different countries come together.
A foreign police officer coming into America.
Yes.
And having to kind of find his own way and butting heads with the guy who's supposed to be kind of babysitting him, so to speak.
Absolutely.
It's almost identical story.
No, it really is.
Yeah.
So shall I actually do the synopsis for this, right? So a loyal and dedicated Hong Kong inspector teams up with a reckless and loudmouth LAPD detective to rescue the Chinese council's kidnapped daughter while trying to arrest a dangerous crime lord along the way.
Okay. I skipped over something when I said about Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. Also, there was a long list. I think Kataka was like right at the bottom. After that, David Chappelle, which I think could have worked.
Yeah. So it was always going to be like Jackie Chan and a black. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Then Will Smith, which could have really worked, I reckon.
Yeah, but I guess he already had Bad Boys, right? He didn't want to do another buddy cop movie.
Yeah, that's probably why he didn't do it. And randomly, Tupac.
Oh dear, I don't think that would have worked at all.
That would have been fascinating.
I could not imagine. Like, I don't think Tupac would have allowed himself to be like shown up or play second fiddle to Jackie Chan.
Well, Tupac's actually decent in the movies he's made. Like, he actually played pretty interesting roles and was a good performer. But yeah, I don't know about him getting his ass kicked. Like that one where, you know, he gets kicked in the face and he can't tell which person kicked him. I can't really see Tupac. That was always the shot in the trailers. Every time anyone showed it, always that shot.
Yeah.
How did you find the action then? As someone who wasn't deep on Jackie before you really got into his Hong Kong stuff.
So the action here,
satisfying.
So when I was, let's use the term when I was a kid quite loosely, because I think when this came out in 98, I was probably already about approaching 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I think this is the only Rush Hour film, and probably the only Jackie Chan film I actually saw at the cinema.
Oh, wow.
Apart from Dragons Forever, which was like a re-release last year. So the action itself is not bad. Like when you break it down, if you compare it, because I've just seen The Protector quite recently, like that was just not Jackie's style. And this you can kind of see he's really in there. Like the things you know him for, like ducking over tables and like hitting stuff and making those faces and like shaking his hand like this, like showing that he's hurt. So those classic things were there, but they were a lot more mellow compared to like a Hong Kong production.
Sanitized version. Brett actually said that he wanted to take stuff that Jackie had already done in his Hong Kong films and put them into this because he didn't think a lot of people had seen that stuff. So even a lot of the beats, a lot of the stunts, even with Jackie jumping up walls and stuff, was these things that you've seen in Police Story and Super Cop, all that stuff.
So you actually hit really an important point there, and I always see this point really being debated in like fanboy forums. So prior to Rush Hour, Jackie Chan was like an international star, but you had to seek him out, right? He wasn't like if you weren't into his films already, you wouldn't know who he was. This film brought him to like the forefront. This made him an international superstar.
I do believe I reasonably enjoyed it when I first saw it because I was already deep into the Hong Kong stuff.
Yeah. When
I discovered Jackie, I mean before this came out, but I think it was fine. Like I said, I've never been a massive fan. I don't think he's really had a single slam dunk Hollywood film. I'm trying to think. No, I don't think he ever really has for me. Something I feel like, that was a good, legit, enjoyable film that I want to watch again. I don't think he's ever really hit that mark.
Rush Hour is probably the best, right? Because after this, he had a few more, but it was like the Shanghai movies.
Yeah.
Or Around the World in 80 Days.
Then he started getting the Medallion and all that, Tuxedo and all those. God. So, Rush Hour is the highest of all of those. But, I give it 3.
It's rated a 7 on IMDb.
But I bet you most of those people don't watch Hong Kong films.
Exactly. Which is like, so there's an important bit here. So we're going to be critical on these as fans, right? But I think to the average moviegoer, these are probably actually really good comedy action movies.
Yeah, little buddy cop with some fun action, fun little stunts.
Yeah.
How did you find that last sequence in the whole the ceremony with him trying to save all the vases, all that historical artifacts that he's trying to save while fighting?
That actually, I would see that as typical Jackie Chan, actually, because he's trying his hardest. He's pulling the faces. He's getting like bent into all different shapes to try and hold the vases out, and then just finding it break anyway.
Yeah. So So what would you rate this then?
I would say this is it's a wholesome 3, right? I think I need to go and revisit my scale because a lot of Jackie's films that aren't great, I seem to be rating a 3. So this seems to have fallen into the City Hunter and the Protector level type.
City Hunter, but at least City Hunter wasn't a great film, but even just purely on the action scenes, I think they were more. I don't know. Why is it so much better, more intense, even on the shit films in Hong Kong? When you consider he probably had a good amount of control on this. Is it the stunts? He couldn't really have the crazy stunts. It'd be the wire work. Like the stuff where he's hanging off of the ceiling of that at the end. That would have probably been done for real. He wouldn't have been on a safety wire. I
think the thing is in the US it's a little bit different because I think in the documentary I was watching, in the second movie, I think he took like you said, he took a lot more charge. So there was apparently there's an anecdote where he goes, they had to halt filming for a day and a half, and he goes to Brett, like, why are we waiting? He goes, well, it's going to take us a day and a half to get the crane up there. And he goes, what? He goes, give me a rope. And he basically gets a rope up, takes a camera, climbs up there, straps the camera on, and goes, we've got a shot. Or he goes, the next day he was showing the stunt team how to do certain things, and all the safety people, he's like climbed up a tree, and he goes, all the safety people are suddenly getting like safety nets out, and he's like, safety nets? What's going on here?
It's crazy. Like, what is it that changed? It had to have been lawsuits from families of stuntmen who either got paralyzed or killed. Whereas in China, I guess that was never a
well, no, you in the Western world, it's just different, right? You have like things like insurance. Yeah, you have things like if someone injures themselves on an American set, it's different compared to China.
It has to start with lawsuits, though, because they used to be crazy. Look at the old silent movies. They used to have crazy stunts on them, grabbing onto trains as they pass.
Yeah, but how long ago was that? Remember, America is a very litigious country, right? This is the sort of place where you sue because your coffee is too hot.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas, I guess they didn't really go for that in China.
Yeah. Oh no, in China, there's none of that sort of stuff, right?
You say, I'm going to sue you, and people just laugh. Sure, go ahead. All right, so Rush Hour 2. Oh, I haven't got a date for this one. Do you remember what date this one was?
So Rush Hour 2 is from 2001. So fairly quick follow-up, right? So 98 was the first one. Like you said, the first one had a budget of, what did you say, 35 mil?
33.
33, and took 248 mil at the box office.
This one had 90 million budget, so quite a bit more, and took 347 million.
So you can see the budget was upped on this one, right? Because they go to Hong Kong, and shooting in Hong Kong apparently is really difficult. It's on like the commentary tracks I've been listening to on Jackie's other movies. Like now, it's almost impossible to get permits. He goes, the way you film in Hong Kong, like in the late 80s, early 90s, Sunday morning before anyone is around, you literally get up, you go there, and you start shooting without permits, without anything, and you just get your stuff done.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like quite a condensed island.
Yeah, it's a very like I think the people to land ratio is quite like sort of small. Apparently, rents and buying houses are almost impossible.
Never really thought about it, but it'd be nice to go to Hong Kong one day before it gets too messed up by the mainland.
It looks beautiful. Watching all these films, I've actually fallen completely in love with Hong Kong and really want to go there. But what I keep finding out is when you're watching these like 80s and early 90s movies, that Hong Kong no longer exists. Nope. There's like, I don't know if you ever recall like some of those films where you see all those neon lights in the streets and the signs. Apparently, that's all gone now.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I have no idea. But some of these, the commentary tracks on Jackie Chan's films that have been done by Asian film experts are absolutely fascinating. Because they're not just about the films, they talk about like Hong Kong as well.
Mm-hmm. I'll be interested to compare those ones to the old Hong Kong Legend ones, because I used to really love the ones that Hong Kong Legend used to do.
Oh yeah, these are great. In the evening when I have to like play with the cats and stuff, I'll just turn it on and like just listen to it in the background.
Yeah. Another thing I actually enjoyed that I did like about watching, especially mainly with Watch Hour 1 and 2, is trying to spot members of Jackie Chan's stunt team that I recognize from his Hong Kong films. There was a few.
Oh, there probably is because he brought his team, but I'm useless at stuff like that.
One in particular, Mars. If you're a fan, then you recognize.
I've heard the name Mars, but like I said, I'm terrible at recognizing people.
You didn't recognize the cameo there right at the beginning of Rush Hour 2 of the young Maggie Q.
Oh, I must have, right? Hold on. What scene was that?
You know, when they were nearly right at the beginning, Rush Hour 2, when they were in the car, in Hong Kong, and the car with the two girls pulls up beside them.
Oh, right. No, I did not recognize her.
And Tucker tries to hit on them, and
yes. And then they drive off, and he says like something like, "You've told them to get naked" or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of them was a young Maggie Q.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, look at that. There's a whole bunch of those.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can see the money in this movie, right? Because like the Hong Kong stuff just looked beautiful. The Vegas stuff looked really nice.
See, but strangely, it still looks like a TV show. It still has that high quality TV thing going on.
I don't know. I think the idea of this was to make it like a more like Bond-like movie, and I can kind of see where they were going with that because they had like the likes of I'm gonna butcher her name now because I haven't said it for so long. Zhang Zhang.
Zhang Zi, yeah.
Zhang Zi, it is right, yeah. Oh, and as Rosalind Sanchez as well.
Whoa.
Oh, two extremely lovely ladies in this film. I do feel that Zhang Zi was a little bit wasted in this film.
Reason for that.
Eye candy,
Reason for that. Couldn't speak English at all. Couldn't understand any.
I did wonder that because she became such a huge star, but never really made the leap over to the US.
Yeah, never learned. I'm pretty sure she's capable to a degree because whenever I see her in the press, she's always dating some like super rich European white dude. So she must be able to speak a little bit of English by now.
Does he really care that she can speak English or not?
Probably not.
Or this is where you hire an interpreter to walk around with you.
There you go. I wonder, you could probably carry a whole relationship nowadays with someone who's foreign if you've got Google Translate on your phones.
Listen, you know what? I did not realize that Google Translate was so good because I had to translate some documents the other day for work from French to English. Yeah. It actually done it in such a way that I could completely understand what it was saying.
Crazy. And have you ever done it when it talks it out loud as well when you say it into it and it just does it? I
know I've done it with like the odd phrase or two, but never like for a whole paragraph or something.
It's crazy. You literally don't need to speak English to the same language as the person you're with. You can just... I'm want to travel just to use it, just to see how accurate it is.
Wait till they get the buds right, where literally you don't have to do anything, and it'll hear and just translate for you.
One day, let's get that money. Yeah. So what else?
So Rush Hour 2, right? So yeah, you know I had to look it up to see whether that was him because I was like, that looks like Don Cheadle because he looks quite young in this film as well.
Yeah. And he only agreed to do it if he could, one, speak Chinese, and two. You got to have a little fight with Jackie Chan, which he did. He did pretty well as well. I was actually surprised. Like, he's actually got some moves. He did more physical stuff here than I've seen him do in all of the Marvel movies combined.
Oh yeah, I mean he's not known for his physical work, right? He literally is known for like his sassy comic delivery.
Yeah, but he's capable. He actually looked credible while he was going hand to hand with Jackie. So that was would have been nice to have more of him.
I think this film had some far more memorable bits than the first one. So that whole bit, like in the saunas.
Sauna.
So when they go to like the massage. So, you know, like, because he keeps complaining, I'm on vacation. So he takes him to like this. And Tucker, you know, like any man would feel like suddenly he's like in a candy store, right? He's like, this one, I want this one.
And all there. You reckon they could get away with that nowadays in this hypersensitive world where it'd be like, you can't show women as objects anymore?
Well, I guess they could get away with it because it would be like it's a foreign country and it's their culture, right?
Maybe. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. He was like, that one, ooh, and that one. And what was the other bit? The fight in the restaurant. I think that was probably the most... You think that was the most memorable action scene? What actually stuck out to you in this one? I think for me, it was the one in the restaurant.
So there was that. There was the stuff that at the end of the film that stands out as well, like in Vegas, where Tucker is being the loudmouth and He's basically throwing the dice and just being his typical self, right?
Yeah.
And then Jackie's got like the bomb in his mouth.
Oh yeah, he had it all wrapped in the cellophane.
Yeah.
You don't think no one noticed when you got the glowing light just popping through the mouth? Like, what do you want? Yeah. How do you feel about this one then? How does it rank?
So this one I thought was as good as the first one, right? I thought it was a little bit more polished, probably slightly more refined. The action was slicker, but comparable to the first one.
Yeah, I think I'll still give it 3.
Yeah, I'd say 3 easily.
Yeah. All right, now Rush Hour 3, 2007 budget.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a big gap.
Yeah, a big gap,
right? And you could tell Tucker looks quite a bit put on a bit of weight.
Yep. He actually did look quite different in this film facially. Yeah.
Dude, budget of 140 million. I think a lot of that was Tucker's paycheck to get him back.
So Tucker got a massive paycheck. I think Jackie got not as a bigger paycheck, but he, from what I understand, got the distribution rights to the film in the Asian markets.
Ooh, that must have paid nice then.
Oh yeah.
Real nice. So yeah, 140 million, and only brought back, not a failure, 258 million, but profit-wise, from what they spent, nowhere near as much as the first two.
It's really bizarre, right? If you think, was it worth spending 140 million on an action comedy? If you were the studio boss, would you be thinking, why are we paying Chris Tucker $20 million?
No, I remember the whole talk about this, that they were desperate to get Tucker back, and he'd literally done nothing else. So what he was holding out for, literally just greed. He literally just wanted that money.
But I'd imagine these must have been like not only huge at the box office, but they must have done really well on home video for them to want to spend that much money. Because obviously, there is that whole diminishing returns on sequels.
Yeah, I think this is probably came out at the end, maybe a few years after, but at the end of the point where you could still make a good amount of money off of DVD and a little bit of VHS that was still around at that time, and rentals and stuff like that, because that's dead now. There's hardly any money.
Oh yeah. Well, now you go to streaming, right? But it doesn't pay as well. Yeah. Or you can do VOD, but most people won't do that.
This one was the most forgettable for me.
There's a distinct lack of drop in quality.
Yeah. The only thing I ever remembered from this was the model, Nomi.
Oh, yes.
The only thing I remembered being in this,
and I probably will remember that going forward as well. So you can see there's a distinct lack of quality. It's a lot more slapsticky.
Yeah.
Like that, literally, like they are just taking the piss. And from what I understand, obviously this is post-smartphone era, right? So from what I've read, is Brett Ratner was more interested on playing on his phone than he was in like shouting action cut and actually doing his job.
Oh, I saw one of the trivia things that I can't remember if it was on this movie or the movie before.
Yeah.
Probably made more sense to be on this one, is that there was a bucket. If anyone on the crew's phone went off while shooting, they had to put in certain money and it would be donated to charity. And they made like some ridiculous, like nearly $250,000 to give to some charity. It was like nuts. So maybe I
bet Ratner did not put anything into that pot.
What was the most WTF moments for you in this?
There's the bit at the end, right, where they like fly off the Eiffel Tower on on the flag, and you're kind of like, wow, they've like hit, and they go right across the Paris, right down into that water bit, and you're kind of like, wow, this is really like taking it to the next level. Or Jackie suddenly has a brother.
Yeah, a Japanese brother. that took some explaining to do. Like, what? He's Japanese. He's talking Japanese when he speaks it. He's not chatting Chinese, but then they explain that it's adopted. So I guess you can get away with that. But no, for me, WTF is the fact that Roman Polanski's in this. Roman bloody Polanski, convicted child abuser. He's in this fucking movie twice. Who thought that was a good idea?
Yes. I guess when you're in Europe, you could do that sort of thing, right?
That was the thing. He was literally uncredited outside of mainland Europe. In mainland Europe, they don't really give a fuck, so he was fine. He was credited, but US, UK, nope, didn't happen.
Oh, actually, no. While I think we completely skipped across it. I know you were talking about Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
Just his whole character, right? The fact that he was like this guy who lived like a Chinese lifestyle,
Yeah.
knew kung fu. Loved the bit where Jackie asks him like who was the teacher, and he says the name, and he goes, "What, from Beijing?" He goes, "No, from Crenshaw."
You're like, oh, that's his brother. You're like, oh, okay, yeah. Even dressing up like the stereotypical Ming Dynasty thing with a little ponytail.
Yeah. I will say, as bad as this movie was, it probably had one of my favorite lines of dialogue, which come across as extremely racist and crass, but it's where they've got the guy at the hospital, and I will come back to the hospital in a moment, and he's talking French, and Tucker shakes him and he goes, "You're Asian, have some." Stop embarrassing yourself, you're Asian.
That did make me laugh.
Yeah.
Or when they split ways because they were mad at each other, and Tucker is Jackie is in his hotel room watching some African Nat Geo documentary that's reminded him of Tucker, and Tucker's watching Indiana Jones and that little Chinese kid reminds him of Jackie. I'm thinking, these fucking jokes, man. You think by 2007 they would have been getting an idea of.
I think that's the charm of some of these films, though, isn't it? Really, the fact that they are poking fun at these cultures. But there does seem to be a real lack of any sort of like sense in the plot, right? And the bit that I found the most difficult to accept was you've got the Chinese consulate, right? The ambassador, whatever he is, to America from China has been shot. When he's in the hospital, there are no guards there. There are no nothing. And these guys just come in the guy's just been someone's attempted to assassinate him, and you don't have any like guards, no FBI, no CIA, no nothing. Not even like Chinese guards.
See, that's better than one I've got. My one of just makes no sense is when Chris Tucker's posing as the wardrobe guy in the cabaret show.
Oh yes, yeah.
And he gets all the girls to strip, and we're led to believe that he creates a whole new set of costumes right just before they go out within like 2 minutes.
Yeah, this was just a payday for all these people, really. It was just like get a film slapped together, and it's such a shame, right? Because they had the potential to round it off. And have it as a nice bookend for like a nice trilogy, and it's a real shame to just think back the third one just falls so far short of any potential. And there's been talks of like a Rush Hour 4 for years, and you kind of think, oh, Jackie Chan's about 65 years old now.
Yeah, true. Tucker, he's doing what he does.
And obviously Ratner is I think
cancelled.
Yeah,
pretty much. I don't want a third one. I'm surprised they never made, because I know that the Medallion got an animated series for Jackie. I could imagine in the 90s a Rush Hour cartoon. I'm surprised Nickelodeon never did something like that.
So there was another one, wasn't there? There was like the Adventures of Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Which I've never seen actually, but from what I understand, apparently it's not bad.
No, it's not good. It's not good at all. It's bad. It's terrible. I watched a bunch of them. So I would have liked a Jackie Rush Hour animation. That would have been fun. These two cops going around having adventures all over the place. Been nice.
Would have been interesting. Yeah.
So you never really. Oh. The people who nearly played the bad guy, the guy who turns out to be Jackie's brother. Yeah. Didn't write the name of the actor down, but at one point it was Tony Jaa, but his schedule, from On Back.
Oh, okay.
The Taiwanese. So I guess they didn't really give a shit about ethnicity. They were willing to change it wherever it goes. But it would have been Tony Jaa, which could have been cool to see those two fight each other. And the other guy, the white guy, was nearly played by Steven Seagal, which would have been
really
cool. And which I think would have worked, especially since they were in France, even though he's Belgium, but French is the common language.
Yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, that would have been really interesting, actually.
I think that would have worked. That would have added a little bit of a flavor to this.
Did they give any reason as to why he didn't?
Nah. I guess that
would have made a lot of sense as well, because obviously they're in that part of the world.
It's true. I would have been, and then Jackie Chan versus
Oh my God, that would have been like the most memorable thing from this film.
You could put that on the poster, just them looking at each other and just Tucker in the background. That's what you needed. That would have sold it. But yeah. So
because that would have been around the time that he was trying to make his comeback as well, right? Because he would have had things like JCVD or whatever, or that would have been a little bit after. Yeah.
Yeah, around that. So maybe it was a money thing. Maybe I don't know. Negotiation. So what do you give this one?
I would give this one. I think giving it a 2 is too harsh, so maybe a 2.5.
Yeah, I have to agree with that one.
Yeah,
2.5. But then again, you've got the dumb thing that with the French model, and it turns out that she's this holder of a code that's tattooed on the back of their head.
That bit makes no sense whatsoever, right? So I can understand that might have been an old tradition.
Maybe.
Surely, but then you have a Chinese woman playing that role, right?
Oh, some random French mixed race chick and shave her head, who apparently she legitimately shaved their head for that.
And who would actually agree to go ahead with something like this because knowing that you're going to die?
Exactly.
And the fact that she's this cabaret star, right? Wouldn't you want to get somebody who's not known?
Exactly, who could disappear and no one's going to notice.
Yeah. Suddenly got like headlines saying like French cabaret star disappears.
Exactly. Nuts. But yeah, I'll stick with 2.5.
Have you ever heard the story of how Brett Ratner got Jackie to do this? Because apparently, like for years, American producers, writers, and directors had been courting him, and he just kept turning them down. So apparently, him and his producer, they flew out to South Africa for a movie that Jackie was doing, and and the producers like to Ratner, like he goes, when we get there, don't talk, let me do all the talking, right? And they go, when they arrive at the airport, Jackie himself, not a chauffeur, not a taxi, Jackie himself picks them up in a car, right? Because he goes, he was that impressed that these guys had flown all the way from America to South Africa to see him. And he goes, as soon as Ratner gets in the car, he just starts going, Jackie Chan, I love you, and starts just rattling off and talking and talking and talking. And the way Jackie goes, he goes, I could not wait to get back to that hotel. 45 minutes. He goes, this guy would just not stop talking. And he goes, anyway, that night, he buys them an expensive dinner and he does all this stuff. And he goes, but he's just talking. He just wouldn't shut up. So they get talking about the script. And he'd found the script called Rush Hour. And he said he goes to Jackie Chan. He goes, this script is terrible. He goes, but I know what I need to do to fix it. What I want you to do is to read it and think about it. So he leaves the script with Chan. He goes a few days later or weeks later, Jackie Chan's people calls and says he'll do the movie. So Ratner then asks, like at some later stage, says, why did you pick this script to do? And he goes, every American that comes to see me tells me they've got the greatest script ever. And they go like, they think I'm stupid that I can't get it translated and read it and tell for myself that it's a stupid script. He goes, but you told me this is a terrible script.
That's it. Give someone a challenge, especially someone who's creative in themselves. That's pretty smart.
Yeah.
That's pretty smart. Okay. So yeah, Rush Hour Trilogy. We almost did get into the TV stuff, but we didn't bother.
We should mention there is a TV show. I have never seen it, I don't think.
No, didn't. I think it only lasted
one season.
I don't know
13 episodes, so not even a whole season.
But so next week, guys, I think we're going to start doing something a little different when we do these bonus talk about. I think we're going to start doing verses of movies, of remakes, so originals against the remake which came later, which is better. Now I'm actually really excited about doing this. And the first one we're going to do is going to be Infernal Affairs.
Yep.
Chinese movie.
Yep.
Versus the remake, which was
The Departed.
That's it.
Which actually, if I recall correctly, won Best Picture.
Oh, did it?
I think it did win Best Picture, didn't it?
I'm not sure.
I'll have to double check that now before we start next week.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So, guys, if you get any ideas of other better, I think there's a whole bunch.
There are so many, right? But I think the problem is, I mean, I don't think there are many that translate well across, right? There aren't many films where you see the original and then see the remake and think, oh, the remake's just as good, if not better.
Did you ever see Let the Right One In?
Let the Right One In. What was Let the Right? I think I've seen the original. Is that the vampire one?
Yeah.
Yes. So I've seen the original. I never saw the remake.
Okay, so that could be one later down the road. But anyway, yeah, Furlong Affairs and The Departed next week. But
so hold on, before we go, I think I said it right at the top, so we should probably give it a quick mention. Sure. How do you think these American films compare to Jackie's output?
They don't. Given that even when he has control over the action, the regulation of stunts, and even just the way it's shot, because in China, they did back in the 90s when there was in the early 2000s, they were still using film. And this was film still, but it was at the point where they were starting to use more generic TV level character. It just didn't look filmic. It didn't look cinematic or any other way. So even when you do the cheap movies in they were doing in Hong Kong, it still just looks better. There's more texture to it.
Do you feel that the beginning of Rush Hour is the end of the golden era of Jackie Chan? Yeah. Like that bit, from Meals on Wheel or Drunken Master through to I think Drunken Master 2.
Yeah, I think Legend of Drunken Master was probably the last great Jackie Chan project. Yeah, I don't think he's really done anything that significant after that. There was the new Police Story, which was pretty good.
Yep.
It kind of rebooted the whole Police Story thing as a little more serious. It was actually a legit movie.
Yeah, I've got those on my watch list. I actually bought the other day because it was on Amazon for about £3. The Shinjuku incident, which apparently is really highly rated. So it's not an action movie, but people refer to it as Jackie Chan Scarface.
Oh, okay, that'd be interesting. Look forward to that review.
But it is on it's on Netflix as well if you want to see it.
Oh, okay. I'll give that a look.
Yeah.
So guys, from me, Reese.
Me, Mo.
Don't forget, check out Talking at the Movies podcast on all podcast platforms, as well as Voltron Network YouTube, where you can, if you only listen to this through the podcast, you can see the video of us talking. Or if you're watching this on YouTube first, then you can also find our podcast feed and all that bollocks. So, yeah, guys, see you next week. We'll be talking about whatever. Later.